So everyone should be, yeah, should be having a good December. So that's what we like to see, right? To be honest, as well, if any of you guys are any good at gaming computers, I need to buy my daughter one for Christmas. So drop me a message because I'm completely confused. Right, let's get to it on today. So I've chosen to play it a little bit, safer. All right. One thing we've got to remember here, right? Look at the news coming out today for the US dollar. All right. For anything, right? There is nothing coming out later on. Obviously, we got GDP, which is, missed ever so slightly for the pound. Nothing really major though. But nothing is going to change the outlook today fundamentally of the US dollar. All right. So I'm going to hazard a guess. We're going to be staying probably probably in between this range here. All right. I do kind of want it to come up and test this 98 for 500, and then obviously hopefully it will trigger our trades. That's what I would like. I really want it to strengthen a bit, trigger us, and then obviously continue. But if you look at this overall outlook here, all right, we are coming to the downside. So if you're trying to buy the dollar, you're crazy. If you're trying to sell gold, also a bit crazy. You need to be looking at the overall outlook of what is happening here. Um, so yeah, just be aware of that. Yields dropped off yesterday, little recovery, but I would probably call this we're back in a little bit of a downtrend here, but it is holding, steady. I don't see any major, moves happening. So before I go into much more detail, what I'm going to do is break down obviously the pairs that or not the pairs, because everyone knows what pairs are in trade, but obviously what I have chosen in order. So I'm pretty sure, keep drawing on my chart. So pound at the top, um, I really, really like this. I think it was pound. Let me just double check, so I might have got that completely wrong. I want to make sure I get it right. So. At the top was I did get it wrong. Euro, right? Everything's pumping, all right. To the upside, we got dollar weakness. We've got even small things like looking at I mentioned a few times about the EMAs. If you want a very very basic confluence, if the 50, which is this blue one, is trading above the 200, all right, you should only be looking to buy. All right, once it starts, a bit like here, once it starts trading below, we're obviously looking for obviously the highest place to then, sell. Obviously, again, when it's trending above, we're looking for the lowest place to buy. So my EMAs are the yellow is 200, the blue is 50. It's a very, very, easy, simple beginner kind of confluence to obviously tell you which direction. I really really want to something that's come across to me massively is lots of people obviously flick on a chart and not only have they got to work out where they're going to enter, they've also got to work out am I going to buy or am I going to sell. All right, so I'm trying to really eliminate the am I going to buy or am I going to sell. All right. That's what we're trying to get rid of here. All right. We don't want to have to, worry about that. We can obviously make that decision up by just looking at the dollar and probably, yields and then the overall kind of trend. All right. So we know, we're obviously looking now for the lowest place to kind of buy the euro against the US dollar. All right. So my kind of day entry was this entry here. You can see here, all the liquidity here. Yeah. Um, so we've obviously got to be aware of it. And yeah, that is my kind of entry area. I really want this to come down here and tap and then continue to the upside. However, just be aware on a Friday that obviously we can have Friday flows. So there isn't a chance that this might happen on gold. So yeah, let's just wait and see. But Euro was obviously my number one pair. GBP USD is next. Um, very, 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 very similar. But after the news, normally I'd be looking to obviously enter around here. It's probably, looking to tap this. But because the news wasn't great, obviously I wanted a little bit of a lower entry. So, we're obviously gonna wait for the majority where the majority of this traffic is. You can see it's tapped in here. So yeah, that's obviously I wanted to play a little bit safer, but obviously if news like wasn't so bad, then yes, my entry will probably be somewhere here, but I'd rather play it a bit safer. Then we've got AED USD here, similar. You can see all this price action here, struggle to break out, struggle to break below. So we do want this just to come in and tap this one more time and then continue. We've then got USD JPY. Again, yen pairs one, they obviously move a lot quicker, so obviously you need to be aware of that. And two, yeah, they're just big because yen is obviously the weakest pair this morning. I'm obviously not gonna, be overly ambitious and say, right, you know what, we're gonna sell from here, say for example, which you could have put this somewhere around this area in. So, Friday, we're going to play it obviously a bit, safer. And then gold. Gold is the only one that I'm not worried about, but we could see an abnormal swing and it could be back trading, back down here. Just because there would have been guys from, say, for example, Monday, or Monday, it was about here. All right, who have bought from here. They've obviously made all this profit. So soon as it's about taking it off the table. I actually think by the end of the year, gold could be at all time highs again. So yeah, we'll wait and see. But obviously that is all time highs here. I am bullish on gold still, but obviously I just wanted this just to come in one more time and tap this area. And I think this area of interest is pretty obvious. I'm actually of the, standard. We did very, very well yesterday. I was really happy. But obviously, I'm of the kind of view now that if we just obviously just chill out a bit. I don't want to go giving my profits back that obviously I've already made, so yeah, that's why I'm just taking this morning a little bit easier, hopefully um will yeah, something's gonna trigger. All right. So yeah, that is yeah, the kind of overall outlook here, main obviously goal. My journal it doesn't seem to want to load today, which is very, very irritating. But I think yesterday was about uh, 53K. So yeah, hopefully we can obviously yeah, make sure today's green too. And then I think when I swap things around, it was on the 17th here. So we actually haven't had an overall losing day. And yeah, that'll be 20 days if we can achieve it today. So let's wait and see. Right, let's go through a few questions. So morning. Cola. My question before I forget, can you briefly explain how to align key level entry points, so it's stop loss and take profit, drawing the box and where to draw it is really confusing. Okay, yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, I've been through it, a bit, but let's obviously take gold for example here. We've obviously got this low here, yeah. All right, so naturally, to invalidate this low, we obviously want our stop loss below, yeah, because what might happen. Everyone knows what obviously a equal low is. It can still continue to the upside, and obviously this would be an uptrend. All right, but obviously, as soon as this closes and breaks, then yes, trend has changed. All right, so that's obviously my reason there. Reason for obviously only having it here and obviously not extending my take profit to say for example up here is you've got to try and I mean maybe it's me, I love a conspiracy, but obviously you've got to try and do things different to the majority. All right, so everyone's going to have their TP here. All right, exactly at the last previous high. All right, so if we've made all of this profit here, we're not worried about this last 20, 30 pips, because what might end up happening is you might be in this trade. Oh, you might be in this trade here, and it's tracked up and it's brilliant, but you're holding out for your TP. Just before your TP, it might go whoop. So and that's normally what ends up happening. So yeah, that's obviously why I've placed it where it is. And obviously, I draw the boxes where liquidity has been. Sometimes obviously I'll err on the safer kind of side, and then other times I will be a little bit more aggressive. But obviously, as we had such a good day yesterday, I think pretty much everything was in profit yesterday. Um, so I'm not really rushing. Plus, I don't know. I do want to see a pullback because there is nothing to pull the US dollar back right now. It's just gonna have to be Trump, coming out with something. So yeah, but I think either pound, Aussie, or euro are going to trigger. So let's wait and see. Right, let's have a look at the next one. Gem, morning all. Hi, Dan. Can you check Euro GBP for me? I think it looks good for a sell, trending down, pullback zone. What do you think? Sure. Let me have a look at it. Euro GBP. I don't tend to trade this because it is quite slow. So let's just have a look here overall. So on a two hour, we are in a downtrend, comfortably. You could argue here. All right, you could argue. I mean, I'm going to put that as an equal high. So you could also a little bit argue that this is consolidation here, right? But overall, yes, there's a downtrend here. Now, what's obviously going to be pushing it up, if then this is where we obviously want to look at our strength of pairs here. All right, so if we go to the bottom, oh, there we go. Right, so Euro Euro is a little bit stronger than pound at the moment. Not by much, but it's a little bit stronger. So yeah, this here, I don't think this is gonna, move much. I think, yes, long-term potential, but obviously I'd probably have to look at Euro on a bit of a or Euro GBP on a bit of a lower time frame here. Let's just have a look at this. So yeah, I'd have to look at Euro GBP on a slightly lower time frame. Let's go hourly, starting to cross, 30-minute, starting to cross. I mean, I think this could push up higher, to be honest. I think we could be looking to target this area. I mean, I haven't looked into euro and pound much, but I would say, macro wise, I'd say euro is probably outperforming pound ever so slightly, especially on the data, so you could on a lower time frame, argue that obviously that's your now support here. So for example, if it's 30 minutes, just have a look at the 15 minute. If this what I'd want to happen, this is obviously quite a key candle here. We've had price push up and rejects hugely. So if this breaks and closes on a 30 minute, all right, yes, I'd probably then be looking for it to come into this area and potentially buying from here. That is what I would be kind of looking into on Euro GBP. But again, you've got to look at how much it moves on a daily. All right, so for example, yesterday was a heavy day, right? And it's moved 40 pips. So it's going to take probably 1 to 2 days to get up here. So I think from what I've seen, most people will be trading these pairs a lot smaller. So they'll be on like a 5 minute or 3 minute because yeah, it's going to be like probably Monday by the time your GBP reaches up here. And also that would coincide. It's not going to be the end of the world. If we look at this on a Fibonacci kind of area. Yes, we're obviously within our area here, but I still think it's going to be drawn into potentially on a higher time frame, potentially this area here more, just because of how much price action there was here. Um, um, Coca-Cola drawing box or support and resistant for entry, which is better? Right. One thing that I've obviously done a lot of researching for those of you who have obviously, apologies if you've heard this before, but obviously I paid to have a meeting with a big hedge fund owner. Basically, lunch cost me about 8 grand. So I had to, but I had him for a while. And obviously I kind of knew this all ready, but obviously, candlesticks and patterns. This is built for us. Yeah, this is built for the retail industry. All obviously, all any kind of institutional fund, sees is probably something ever so slightly different. So it might even be something like this, where they're just looking at price and is it worth it? Is it worth buying? Is euro a good deal? I mean, to think about forex is no different to buying a car. All right, is this car a good buy at this price? And obviously that's the only way. That's the way you've got to have a look at it. So that's why I've gone back to just being confident. You know what? If the price even touches my area, I'm interested. I'm in, you know? So that is how I trade it. And why? Because otherwise, you can get so confused on, spotting candles and you know, yeah, you just I actually the longer I trade, the older I get. I think yes, you want to use candles as as a bit of an overall kind of confluence, but don't use it as the main reason why you're entering a trade because it's yeah, they are dead designed as kind of, booby traps here, and the lower down the time frame, which is the more common, the more kind of booby traps there are. So we obviously want to, make sure that, we are, yeah, trading on the right side of everything. But yes, that's why I draw boxes. The only indicators I've got, and I use it as an extra confluence, is two EMAs. All right, so you could go to indicators, EMAs, moving average. I don't trust it indicators because obviously every single indicator, even the ones that they say, I mean, it makes me laugh. There's guys out there who are like, I've got the best indicator. It'll put an arrow when when you sell. So it'll put like a buy arrow here, and then buy arrow here and a buy arrow here. That doesn't work, all right, because this buy arrow, all right, will appear when when price is about here. But it'll come up that you could have entered here. So yeah, don't believe that. But no, I use so I've just got two moving averages. One is at 200 and then one is at 50. It's very, very easy. It's just I'm trying to add, things which is going to obviously help, and this is a very, very beginner, easy way. Go on the 2 hour every day. Look, where's the, where's the 50? Is it above 200 or below? And then obviously that's going to tell you your overall bias. All right. Right, Robbie. The hardest thing for me is being aware of major events. The jobs data burnt me on USD yesterday. I used the economic calendar, but I didn't realize the effect. Sorry. I didn't realize use the economic calendar, but I didn't realize the effect it would have. Right. So very, very easy. All right. Really, really easy. All right. And I will show you yesterday. And so. Right. It will only be 3 star that is gonna, move anything. All right. So this is almost completely relevant. This being green, this being green, this being green. Just look, very, very, simply, anything 3 star, all right, that's gonna have a major impact. All right, because all that this is, initial jobless claims, all right, is that the amount of people with no jobs who are making claims has increased. Yeah. All right. So, that's obviously how you've got to look at it. But yeah, anything 3 star. And if we look, this week, if we go to say, for example, even Wednesday, what's moved markets? CAD has, it didn't obviously reduce interest rates. 3 star, you know. Don't worry about the only exception is oil, but obviously, that's going to have a little effect on obviously oil-based currencies like CAD. But even like, all these 3 stars, right? That's the only thing that's going to really, move the market's kind of, major. Um, and it's all the important things, Australia hasn't reduced interest rates, so you can kind of as well start to paint a bit of a picture. We've had three interest rate releases this week. Aussie hasn't reduced. CAD hasn't reduced. So why I just don't understand why the Fed dropped interest rates. But obviously that's why Aussie is relatively strong. CAD is relatively strong. US dollar is a little bit weaker because there's obviously not going to be as much investment flowing in. So yeah. Jem, hi Dan. My son knows about gaming computers. I'll ask him. Yeah, drop me a message then at Trading Into Results on Telegram. That would really, really help me because I've got this one at the moment, which I'm looking at, or there's another one. But yeah. It seems to be very, very complicated stuff. Shinny wants to play Roblox and Fortnite. What is Cola? What is 20 EMA good for? I promise you, just use 250. Yeah. And I promise you, just, because what you want to do, you don't want to be confused about, right, this is euro. Am I going to buy it or am I going to, sell it? It's much easier, if I go onto a chart like say for example USD CAD, yeah, all right. We obviously know we've done our homework. We haven't looked at this chart, all right. But all we know is right. You know what? We're interested in, selling this. All right. So what we're going to be looking out for, there's a potential area around here, yeah, which we could be interested in. There's a potential area here, all right, because price has rejected that, which we could be interested in, all right. And all we're doing is looking to, sell from these areas. And then we know that if this is invalidated here, all right, then our, then trend's going to change. And then, we obviously know that there's, lots of movements down here where obviously we could try and capitalize on through previous price action. Yeah. It might be that we choose to enter here, but you can obviously then kind of, understand, what's happening here. All right. So this one's been a bit longer, but yeah, like obviously everyone's questions. Richard Stone thought you said investing.com wasn't putting uh some no, that was me. So basically, Richard, I obviously for some reason my investing.com, read set, and obviously I hadn't ticked 3 star, so that's why on Sunday night it was only showing 2 stars. But yeah, you guys remember I'm always here. I'll put my obviously at in the in a circle afterwards just to remind you. But utilize me if you got any questions. I'm always here. So let's make sure we have a good Friday, and yeah, let's smash it. Have a good one, guys.